Alrighty, so joining me on a foster care discussion, avas.artbook on Instagram. You can find her
Hi.
work. I'll throw up some pictures of her artwork on screen so you can have a look. She's very talented. And we're going to be having a laid-back discussion on AI art and AI's effect on the creative industry. I guess just to get us started, what are your general opinions on AI art?
It's kind of complicated because you see it so much in media now, and it's such a common thing in daily life. Like you see it in all these apps and on your browser and stuff like that. So it feels oddly like they're trying to normalize it, and it's just uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable feel that how normalized AI is, because it's not human. And it's just like the idea that it's trying to become human and have these human conversations with you makes it even more eerie. Like we're living in this apocalypse kind of AI. It's not fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it's inescapable, isn't it? It's just everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even if you try your best, it's going to be in everything you do. Like, if you look up something on Google, there's going to be a little AI thing asking you, is this what you want to look? Here, I can help you. And it's like, I don't want your help. It's like setting up people to be comfortable with not interacting with other people.
Even, have you seen the Wendy's drive-thrus where they just fully have got ChatGPT in the kiosk things?
Yeah, I've seen those. It's crazy to see in daily life because a couple of years ago, you wouldn't see something like this. You wouldn't see just, with AI assistant, AI bot included.
Yeah, and it's weird because things like the Wendy's drive-thru, it's not like it's a better way or a more efficient way. It's just the same, but they're not hiring humans. So the only thing is the companies get a little bit of extra profits from not hiring humans, and it's like these lower barrier to entry jobs that actually provide people with income. It's pretty messed up.
The vast majority of people my age and just people in general are always complaining about how there's no jobs available, and these people want the most qualified out of these jobs because the least qualified can be replaced by a robot.
Yeah, and the more jobs that are replaced by AI, the more that it's automated, the more people that are looking for jobs that are oversaturating other fields. AI is making the fields that it directly affects more competitive, and it's making the fields that it indirectly, that it doesn't affect, it indirectly makes it more competitive because people have to still find jobs. So it's just especially now, it's I think it's 3 times the amount of people are looking for jobs than they were previously. It's the job market, people just hire the cream of the crop because they have that ability to do so.
It's with so many different types of careers, everything is getting so many things are getting replaced by AI, like writers, artists, and it's all these things. It's crazy to see something with such a deep human connect, is rooted in us to create. It's bizarre to see people normalize this kind of stuff because we're meant to create. We're not meant to sit back and watch a computer create for us.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree. It's out of all the things for us to want to automate with robots and machines, art should be the last thing. It's humans, they take their struggle, their life experience, their culture, and their ideas, and they turn it into art, and we enjoy it because it's not just that we're consuming it for the end product of what it is. It's we know what's behind it, and we want to know about the artist, and we want to know about the process and the talent and the skill. It's there's so much more to art than just the output.
And it's I always go back to this. You see things like artists like Van Gogh, who had such a difficult life that impacted his art so much, and you'll never be able to actually comprehend his emotions, but you can feel them through his art. And that's why it makes sense to me when people say art, AI art, feels soulless, because there's no soul putting themselves into that art and putting their all and every single thing they know, and like there's no one behind that. Like the people who put classical artists into an AI, like when they do that with Da Vinci and stuff like that, it's like taking something so incredibly important and chalking it down to, oh, well, we can just recreate that.
Oh my
There's
god.
a computer can make it, so it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's such a consumerism mentality with art now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and because like art is one of the only things you can't really mass produce. You can't. I mean, you can have hundreds of people sitting at desks drawing, but that still takes time. It still takes time to do all these things, and people, like, that's why AI is so incredibly popular, is because now they have that gateway to the consumerism of, like, incorporating consumerism into art, basically.
Yeah. Because, like, with art, it's like there's a whole ideas phase, there's, generation sketching, like, there's so much pre-work, like, research. Like, they don't want any of that. They want to cut out the process, cut out the pre-work, just skip right to the end product and keep it churning.
And it's like, it reflects so much on this, like, upcoming generation and the attention spans of people too, because they don't want to put that effort in. And it's like, I look at some of these people, I'm like, you could. I started where you were. We don't come out of the womb being able to draw like Michelangelo. It takes time, but you guys don't want it.
It's actually the best part, would you agree? Like, the process and learning and getting better?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because you can implement so many little ideas. Like, I'll put the tiniest little things in my art that no one will probably notice. But it means a lot to me, because I'm like, oh, I had all these little ideas when I was drawing. I was like, oh, I want to add this because this would look nice with this. Another thing with that, too, is I find it so funny how a lot of people do complain about the AI art, especially of their characters. And it's like, because you don't have the personalization an artist can give you.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't have, they can't have, like, they can't give you feedback. Like, you can give them feedback and be like, oh, well, I want this and this changed. And change this ever so slightly. And you can tell it, like, a computer to do that, but it's not going to do it the way you want it to.
Yeah, there are things that are, like, communicated to the artist that they kind of understand that what you're picking up on. Like, there's a certain artist vision that if you said, look, I want it kind of like this, they get it. It's like this, I don't know, mutual sort of subconscious understanding of what you're actually trying to achieve. Whereas I don't think it's translated as well purely into words when you're like using an AI software. Like,
that's the whole thing with like media using it too, is that they want the efficiency and they want it quickly done. It costs money to like hire these people to work on movies and to work on these shows that they're making, so they'd rather like throw it at a computer and tell me, hey, I envisioned this, can you give me that? And they're like, okay. And it's like, the computer's like, all right.
And because they're just like corporate heads, it's just good enough. As long as it does the job, it's good enough. Whereas an artist, if they were on the project, they'll be like, no, I kind of understand, like, we need to do this differently. They're just like, nah, it's good enough. Let the AI do it.
Yeah, and that was, like, I remember you were talking about the Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
I was reading about that, and it creeps into legal territory when you're using AI in media, especially when you're going to, like, big production movies that are gonna hit the box office. Like, it's AI, like, AI art is built on other people's art and like other people's images, and there's no way to go and solve this.
Yeah, I'm glad that, like, with AI that there hasn't been any major copyright laws in the sense that you're allowed to copyright what you make with AI. Because I saw somewhere someone made a comic or like a kid's storybook, and they used AI art for all the pages, and they tried to get it copyrighted, but the only thing they could copyright was like the layout of the pages, and that was it. And all the art, all the story, because it was all written by AI, generated by AI, they couldn't copyright any of it. So I wonder if specifically with Late Night with the Devil, if the entire movie is copyrightable, but the frames they had with AI, it's like that's not copyrightable.
That's what I appreciate, because it's people who are creating laws are also looking at this and being like, okay, we need to do something about this, because it's getting to a scarily uncomfortable point where if we let AI continue to do what it's doing, it's going to be the detriment of us. Because you've seen it with things like deepfake.
Oh,
There's
God.
been, but deepfakes and stuff like that aren't being talked about as much anymore. And it's becoming something where it's still there. People are still using it for malicious reasons or not. It's still there, but people don't talk about it anymore.
It's genuinely one of the most disgusting applications of AI. Like, there's nothing good about it. Like, you can scam people, create false evidence, like impersonate people. It's so unregulated. It's awful.
Oh yeah. And there was that one case where someone used an AI voice to impersonate someone's daughter and was pretending to be held at gunpoint. I was like, please,
oh my God.
like, you need to send them money. And the mom was horrified, and she went to go, like, her daughter was in her room. Her daughter was in the house, and this like, scammer was telling her in her own daughter's voice that I'm being held at gunpoint.
That's
I'm going
so
to die
fucked.
if you don't send them money. It's like, I understand there are implementations of AI that could work and it could better society as a whole. But with the light, there also comes a lot of dark, and our world isn't sunshine and rainbows, sadly. People do horrible things with anything. Anything can become horrible, and anyone can do horrible things with anything. But the way AI lets you do things is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, I think there are some benefits of AI. Like, there's research benefits. There's probably, mathematical or kind of system-based benefits. But I think just overall, the amount of damage and tragedy it's going to cause over the next future, I don't think it's in any way balances out. It's so much in favor of the catastrophic negatives of AI.
Oh yeah, because I haven't really been on Instagram for a bit, haven't done it yet. But like the whole thing where it's like you need to go change some setting to opt out of AI using your like content to feed into its programming. Like I don't like the idea of that. Like the whole meta inclusion was crazy to me.
Yeah, it's the same with Adobe as well. Like Adobe software, you have to specifically go in and say that I don't want my work to be used as AI, and like there's so many features now that they're like, do you want to use AI with that?
It's bizarre to me. And the second like Instagram chose AI over its artists and over its entire community of people who use it was the moment it lost a lot of people, from what I've seen at least. Like, people are going to, I forgot what it's called. It's like it's like a new artist. Yeah, it's a new artist-centric kind of social media thing.
What's it called? Casa?
And everybody, I'm trying to find it, but I know a bunch of my, mutuals are talking about it, and it's created for artists, by artists, so everybody, there's no AI implementation, and it cares about its people. I like that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and I think we need it at this point because so many artists are under attack for their art, because these big popular artists who have their art all over social media, they're going to end up getting ripped off pretty much by AI because they have so much of their art up. It's like, oh, it can learn from that, so it's going to create it's going to create stuff like you created it. It's crazy, all of these videos I see, because people who create stock video too, their job is going to disappear if this keeps progressing.
Absolutely. I think they're the first ones to lose their jobs, people who make stock photos and video.
Because it's so easy to generate a person doing the thing that they want to do, because you have to get a model. You have to get all of these, you have to get a set, you have to get all these props, you have to get a camera. It's
Do you think
Oh
that
my goodness.
Do you think that people would go to watch a movie that's entirely AI generated?
It sounds really like disheartening and to say like I just gave up, but yeah, I do believe people are going to get used to it and just go watch a movie because if this is starting to get implemented into the film industry and the stock images and like the videos, like if that's going to be what is shown to people, they're going to get used to it. Like they still want to see their favorite Marvel movie. They still want to see their favorite Star Wars show. It's not going to matter to them at that point because if everybody's using it, they're not going to end up just not watching stuff anymore. It's just how we work. We get used to things and in the worst way possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, already so many people are like advocating for I like how everyone who's advocating for AI aren't the artists. It's like they want a shortcut to art, and they think it's like this, I don't know, freedom of like creative expression. It's like anyone who's a real artist, they understand the problem with saying that it's a freedom of creative. It's just not. It's a process that's removing the humans out of it. It's not good for creativity at all.
Because you are able to go and create things. It's not like you have. I mean, some people might have the physical inability to go draw something, and I understand that. But there's so many people who just aren't willing to learn and aren't willing to create for themselves because they don't believe that they're good enough. And that's sad to me. Like these people who could potentially be amazing artists are instantly looking at other people's art and saying it's better to use AI now because I don't feel like I can get to that point.
Yeah, an interesting analogy I just thought of is like, in Minecraft, if you were to build like a mansion, if you were in survival mode, you would have to like collect the resources and like work your way up from scratch. And it's so much more satisfying when you've actually got that finished mansion. But if it was in creative mode and you just build it, it's like, I mean, even then, you know, there's design to it, but it's not like a perfect analogy. But it's not nearly as satisfying. I think the artist's journey is about the satisfaction of knowing that you've spent all these years mastering those skills to be able to create what you can create now. It's like. Yeah. That's where the true meaning behind art is coming from.
Yeah. And like actually I do like the analogy though because it's like taking the easy way out.
Yeah. I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote that people pass around a lot is that AI in art is like any technological advancement similar to the camera. What do you think about this? Do you agree with that, or do you disagree?
It works. I mean, it is like any other technological advancement. Technically, there are times and places where you can implement it and it will work and enhance the art, but a lot of it comes from like a lack of creativity. Is a lot of it with like what I see at least is a lot of it is a lack of willing to create something. So you use something else. Like it was a whole thing with CGI. A long time ago, I know people had concerns about how CGI was going to look too real and they were going to do too many real things with it. And technically, that's a computer.
Yeah. The worst part for me about AI is that it does look good. Like, you can get AI that looks good. It does the job, and that's what annoys me, is because, like, that's what, like, corporations, companies, and a vast number of consumers will think as well. It's like, yeah, it does the job. But that's not what, like, art is about, we would agree.
Oh, yeah. And, like, the whole, like, consumerism, literally, this is built on the lack of like patience people have, and it like reminds me of things like all of these stores, like online stores that use like basically slave labor to create stuff. People don't care where it's coming from.
Oh yeah.
People only care about the end result. It's like, oh, I'd rather buy a $1 shirt than it's $20 counterpart that's ethically sourced and isn't created by people who are being paid way under minimum wage. It doesn't matter. It's just the end result. And it's like a quick fix. It's like, oh, I need this quick idea. I'm not going to spend the time to work on it. I'm just going to do it real quick. Like,
yeah. And I think it comes down to like what people are okay with, because if just to go back with Late Night with the Devil, that like really made me optimistic after I kind of looked it up, because there was so many people who kind of like review bombed it. There was so many people who were aggressively opposed to using AI, even if it was just like that brief image or like couple of images in the movie. And it's like, at the end of the day, like the consumers almost have the power, because if we reject any and all forms of AI in media, like the media companies, they can't use AI because it's like, it's suicide for their project. So they're forced to hire humans, even if it's less efficient. It's like artificially preserving jobs, because that's what, as a human race, we want. Like, I think that's a good way of going about it. And, you know, you were talking about like ethical sourcing, like more and more people, if they just are more, you know, on top of where their stuff is getting sourced from. Is it environmentally friendly? Is it, you know, has it been used slave labor, or has it, you know, been ethically made? Like, when people care about this stuff, changes happen, because that changes has to happen if people want things a certain way. So yeah, I agree, definitely.
Yeah, and like that's where I see a lot of people. I'm like, you need to boycotting and rejecting and having uproar about something really impacts it. I think people tend to forget how powerful we as just the normal everyday society can be against big corporations and these multi-billion-dollar companies who are like feeding us this stuff. We can tell them no, and if enough people tell them no, they have no one else to feed their expensive things to. So they're like, okay, well, if we don't want to put this money into this anymore, we're going to change our ways, because then that's what's going to... It ends up being capitalism again, but you're changing how this company is acting. And that's with AI, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like, you're not adding anything to the genuine end result, because when you sit back at the end of a movie and you see the credits rolling, you see every single person who worked on that movie. And it's like, it's a sense of awe. I mean, even, like, I do it. I don't know if other people do that, but they look at the credits and they're like, so many people put they're all into this movie. The second I see 5 or less credits and then the rest being for AI, and
they just fade in and out like one page.
Mm-hmm. That's gonna be the day I move to some random place in the woods and I'm never coming out. I'm gonna hide forever.
There was like I heard about this village that, I think it was in the early 2000s. There was this village in England that were living as if it were the 30s or the 40s. They were like, they just didn't want anything to do with modern technology. I feel like people nowadays, they're going to do that, but for AI, they're going to like live in these communities and like garden and like share art and like work for each other, but they're going to be like rejecting of AI.
Yeah. And like, I would honestly love to see how I would live in a community like that, because it's like, people have lost a sense of connection with other people, not even just including AI, just in general. As a whole, we've lost such a connection with people, and it's like the lack of communication skills people have now. It's like, why go out and spend time with your friends when you could text them online? But again, that's something we've normalized. Like, if you said that to someone who lived in like the 90s, or even like the 80s or something like that, they'd be baffled. They'd be like, you're not going out with your friends all the time. You're just sitting there typing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy to them. Like, AI is just the next step.
It's like we're moving towards an age where everything is artificial. It's like artificial social
Mhm.
interaction, artificial art, artificial connection, and
Yeah, and it's like when we start implementing that into things that are supposed to be human is going to truly be the downfall. Like I look at certain shows I've watched in the past, like things like Friends or Modern Family, and I've seen the humor they use and this like the scenarios they create for the characters, and it's like AI can't create experiences these producers had that they put into their characters. Like, okay, well, like the whole like the Friends, like the creators of Friends. I love the first season. I think that's like the first couple seasons are my favorite. But it's like seeing the creators and the writers sit down at a table and talk about stuff that happened in their life and be like, yeah, that would be perfect for this character. Let's just change it a little bit. That is so funny. And like adding their own stories. Like AI doesn't have memories or funny stories to tell to put into a character.
like, I don't know if you relate to this, but when I like watch a comedy, when I laugh, I'm not just like laughing at the joke. I'm almost laughing with the writers because I'm not that I'm proud that they wrote like a good joke, but I'm like, I respect like, oh, that was a good one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost like laughing with them because I'm impressed by their joke writing. So yeah.
And it's like, this is why I give so much respect to comedians and stuff like that who are genuinely funny comedians. I give them so much respect because it's very hard to make an entire crowd laugh at like it's like some really basic joke, but like these people go so in depth, and it's like I will sit back and watch things like Modern Family over and over again because I like the jokes, and it's actual people who understand how these dynamics work and put their own life stories into the characters. And when you have such a wide amount of people who have all these different stories and all these different like backgrounds, and they're able to put them into the characters, put them into one character, like hundreds, like not hundreds of people, like 20 people put all of their stories into one character, and it makes them so like unique. And I don't think AI could ever create a genuinely funny comedy like the things we've had in the past.
What I notice with what AI makes, it always has like this AI tinge to it, like especially with like writing or with visual media. It's like you can immediately tell it's AI. Even with writing, it's like the way AI writes. I don't know, it's like comedies or literature or whatever it writes. It's like, oh, was that written by AI? It just has this tinge to it that you know it's not. It wasn't written by a human. It's weird that.
Yeah.
It's like these patterns that come up with AI. It's like they always have to include this sort of style to it. I mean, with visual art AI, you look at something and you immediately know it's AI. It's like this glossy sort of smudgy like AI look. It is weird that there's that pattern of like no matter what it generates, you kind of look at it and like, oh, that is AI. No matter how good it is, it's weird.
And that's why I'm hoping that doesn't go. I mean, at this rate, I would not be surprised if it did get to the point where it was unrecognizable from things, but I hope it stays that way because I love being able to point out when something's AI and instantly just like, okay, well, I don't care about this anymore.
Have you seen like the Facebook stuff where boomers are getting like tricked into thinking like there's this AI generated picture of a kid like with a sand sculpture of Jesus holding a crab.
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone believes it.
Oh my. I've seen so many of those. Like, I forgot who made a video on it. Was it Danny Gonzalez? I cannot remember.
Probably.
But someone made a video on that, and I was laughing so much. But they know no better. Like, we're used to at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we're used to looking at this and be like, okay, well, what if this is AI? Like, every image you see online, it's like I've become so skeptical where I'm like, oh, is this actually AI?
I saw like this really cool art come up on my feed, and for some reason I just had because there was barely any likes, but it was like really impressive. I was like, I think this might be AI. And I was like looking through their account and there was nothing that said they were AI. And I like kept looking and I was like, oh, this, this does look good. And they had like some speed paints and stuff. But eventually, like, I went to the bottom of their page and like it was all AI. And like, did you know that people can actually use like AI generated speed paints? They can like fake themselves drawing.
No.
Yeah. Like
That
a time lapse
is
of someone drawing like digitally.
that is crazy to me. Like, hold on, I'm trying to find some photos I saw, but I was on Pinterest and like I was just looking at like really pretty house inspiration and stuff like that. And I like find one. I'm like, oh, this is like exactly like what I want my house to look like in the future. And it's like it's just looks like a normal photo. Looks like a very pretty curated photo you'd see on like some popular person's Instagram. And then like I scrolled down a little bit and I saw a comment that's like, "This is AI generated." It has it. If you click on the link, it says it's AI generated in the like bio. I'm like, oh,
wow.
It's crazy to me because like I was even fooled by it. I'm like, oh, this actually looks like a house.
The thing with AI in art is that like it is one of the first things that is getting replaced, but it also, I'd argue, it's one of the things that people would forever want to be human made. Like if you think about data analysts, do we really care if a data analyst is replaced by AI or if it's a human? Like obviously we care that they're losing their jobs, but if you had your when I say data analyzer, I don't actually really know what that means. I'm assuming that's a job, but like, like if someone had to do that in the past and is replaced by AI, the actual work outcome, it doesn't matter necessarily as much that it was made by a human or made by AI. But specifically with art, people do care about that. When they like art or a movie or a game or whatever, they want to know the artist's journey behind it. They want to know that it had human intention behind it because that's the point of art. So in a way, I do hold out hope that it's not just going to completely steamroll over everything and make this kind of dystopian future where we're all just kind of linked into our phones and it's generating a perfect sea of AI content directed at our, person. I think that I think people will stay strong in their sense of their morality. They want art to be human, and I think there'll be sort of a rise of traditional artists, people who make art in the physical world because it's an irreplaceable skill. And yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like, in the end, we're always going to want to seek that human connection something has. We're always going to come back to it because you see these like things where it's like, oh, I miss year so and so, and it's the nostalgia. We're going to get the nostalgia of, oh, I miss the days when we couldn't AI generate our entire life and have a perfectly curated, like the whole thing you said before about a perfectly curated feed. That's what's going to end up ruining so many people because you see it with people who like feel like have body dysmorphia because they look at these people online who are constantly photoshopping their like constantly changing their photos of themselves to be absolutely perfect, and you have people who hate how they look because of it, and they're like, I wish I looked like this person 24/7.
Yeah.
It's just going to be that with everything. With art, it's going to be the most perfect art ever. You're like, I wish I was like this person, but I'm just like this. It's inevitable.
Say, for example, you were on Spotify and you came across a song and you play it and it's amazing. And like Spotify recommended it to you because they knew you would like it. And you play it and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And you found out it was made by AI. But you listen to it back and you're like, oh my god, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard. Like, that's an interesting scenario because it's like, do you keep listening to it? Do you support it? Or do you go, nah, I'll find a human artist?
Yeah, it's so hard because, like, it's very hard to change your opinion on something. Like, I have such a deep connection with music. I care, like, when I hear something that physically, like, makes my hair stand up and, like, I have goosebumps listening to the song, it's like so impactful. If I heard that the song that like impacted me the most in my life at that very moment was made with AI or was just AI generated, I feel like that's like soul crushing, because you're like, I felt such a like deep emotional connection to this song. There's no emotional connection trying to like hug me back, because it's like it feels like the like singer and like the songwriters, they're like hugging you with their song.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be hugged by a bunch of wires. No, I care so much about the creative process and like people and art, any form of art, because in the end, we are here to create, and that's what that's what us as humans have done our entire existence. Is we've slowly created everything we've done. And it's like from Egypt to like India, and you see all of these beautifully done pieces of art, and it's when it comes to AI and when it's going to get to the point where it's replacing such important art, it's just I hope that the laws come in place, or something happens with AI, because I care about these people who are trying their best, like people who put their entire life into art. No, I'm so glad this happened.
Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do a little plug. Go avas.artbook, please.
Yes.
And give me money.
Yeah, just send her money.
Just like I'll do nothing. Just send me money.
Just get dollar bills, put them in envelopes, and send them to her house.
Yeah. My house, I'm going to have a lot more than dollar bills sent to my house if I do that. No, just...
The Unabomber.
Yeah. Thank you.
All good.
Okay.